Hey designers, welcome back to The Variable. Today we're going to show you how to take a picture that has an object in it and cut it out so you have a clean, transparent background. We're going to be jumping into Photoshop, do it in a few easy steps for you. So for the sake of this demo, we're just going to be using some imagery that we found off the internet. I'm not sponsored by them, but I highly recommend that you guys use Unsplash if you need royalty-free, high-resolution images for your kind of work. Let's just look up product and see what comes up. And perhaps there's some kind of quick and easy thing we can use to demonstrate. Here's a few different good ones. A high contrast to the background should be nice and quick for us. So we've got a bottle right here. We've got a watch. And we've got some headphones that'll demonstrate how to cut out of their background. So I've navigated to my downloads right here. Let's open up this first one. I'll go open with Photoshop. And here we are. Okay. So, set of headphones, I'm going to show you a few different ways that we can cut out the background. First one being really simple, but before we get into it, I always recommend taking your original layer and copying it, hiding it, and locking it so that if all else fails, you still got an original to work with. But we're going to take this one right here, go over to this menu on the left-hand side, and it's a quick selection tool. It's a hotkey W if you guys like hotkeys. And you think, okay, let's start quick selecting all of the white, but you don't even have to get into that. Photoshop has this little feature right here. You can go to the top and click Select Subject. And let's see how it turns out. It's thinking. Boom. And now you can see the little dancing ants going around that image there. It's showing what it's selected. Now that we've done that, I'm going to go up here and show you another little trick. If you click this select and mask just next to the subject one, you can then come in here and I can change the background color to whatever I want. I've custom set it. I think by default you'll come in and it's red and the opacity will be like 50%, but I've upped it to 100% and I like it nice and black so I can see my edges. But you come in and you look closely. So I'm going to control to zoom in and I'm holding down the space as I found. Photoshop does a great job selecting those edges. Not me. I missed just a tad here. Rather than found with anything within this menu, I'm going to leave it as is. We certainly could change some over here, put a little feathering on it if we like, but I'm really happy with what Photoshop did automatically. So I'm going to hit OK. And what we'll do to cut this out, we have a couple options. We could right click on it and make a layer via copy. And if I turn off that other one, here's that cut out right here. Boom. That's one way to do it. The downside of that is if I accidentally, now I've got that, the background information is gone. There's no bringing it back. The only thing that you can do to have possibly brought it back is go back to that original layer that we locked down here from the import. And that's fine. If you're confident in your work, you can do that. Copy it. You're good to go. Done. And you would go down here to the bottom and just delete with the eraser tool, perhaps, that spot. So I'm going to make the brush size a lot smaller. I'm using the left square bracket to change its size like that. You can do it that way, or you could go up here to this menu, drop down, and change the size of your brush. And I like the hardness cranked up pretty high so that we have a nice hard edge. We don't want it to be a feathery edge on there. And we can just delete, erase the edge. One other tip. It's kind of pretty much a straight line that I'm going from here to here and here to here, and I'm erasing all of that. What I do to make those straight shots, in Photoshop, if you click on one spot, then hold down Shift and go to the second spot and click it again, it automatically connects it with a straight line. So one other thing that I'll do if I'm just erasing like that, I'm making a new layer, doing Command or Control All. I'm going to change this to black, and I'm going to fill it with, so I just hit Alt Delete to fill it all. And what we'll do is we can take that layer and put it in the background, and that gives us a cleaner view. Oh, did we actually delete all those edges? We missed some. So I can come in here, delete, clean it up. All right, so this is one way to go about it. It's what I consider a destructive process, meaning that there's no going back. That background is toast, it's gone. But hey, that's one way to do it. We've got it. Now all I've got to do is turn off that background layer, and I could go up here and do File, Export, Quick Export as a PNG, and just save it to my desktop or wherever I want it to be saved, and boom, you're done. The image is now a transparent background PNG that you can composite and other things. But I want to back it up. Before we made the layer by copy, we had this image right here, and we had that selection made from automatically, the one that Photoshop automatically did, just like this when we hit Select Subject. So I'm going to back it up to that point again, and I'm going to show you a second way of going about it. Instead of destructively, as I said it, copying that layer and erasing it. So I'm just going to get rid of that. That was version number 1 of how to go about it. Now we're going to show you version 2 to go about it. We did the Select Subject. Photoshop automatically selected those edges. And instead what you can do, it kind of pulled it up right here in the menu. You can see right there. But if all else fails, you can also go down here to the layer mask. And when I click that, boom. What it's done is it's created, as you can see right here, a black and white image. And what it's doing is a software saying wherever it's 100% black, erase it. Not really, just don't show it. And wherever it's 100% white, we're showing it. So I can customize that mask, it's a Luma mask, after the fact with a brush tool. So if I go to my brush tool or hit B, there's my brush tool there, or I hit B. Oh, that's a really big brush tool. I'm going to use the left square bracket to make it smaller. I could take it and wherever it's white, so I'll click the switch things to turn the paintbrush white, I could paint on the background again. So I'm going to hit Control Z to get rid of it. Here, we'll give you some contrast. That black fill layer that we added just so we could see better. Turn it back on. Here I'm going here. The mask layer I'm selecting on the right, and I'm brushing on the background again, returning it. So it never really went away. So something to be considered. If you take it and you use the mask tool down here at the bottom, layer mask, it keeps the data so you can reverse it. And instead of using the erase tool to get rid of the background, I can use my brush tool, and I'm going to paint black to get rid of it. Let's make sure my hardness is cranked up because I like it that way on the edges. And I'm going to do the exact same thing we did before, holding down Shift, make it a little smaller, hold down Shift as I click, and it takes away. I'm painting on to take away. I know it's a little Inception odd, but that's how it works. I'm painting on the mask, and it hides the actual image. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. And now we've got it. So it's literally taking the black and white image to dictate what is shown and what isn't shown. If I broke that chain connection and I use this arrow tool, hotkey V, and I just start moving things around, whoa, ho, ho. Or here I'm selecting that and I'm moving it away, some crazy stuff happens. But all the data is still there. So I'm going to keep that connection, turn off the background, and I could go File, Export, Export as PNG, and then you would have an image with no background on it that you could put on a flyer, put on a presentation, so on and so forth. Now, what's kind of cool about this, we showed you how to like erase it specifically to get rid of something and you have no background. You could also use that same tactic if I use my brush and I make it nice and big. So here go my brush tool, make it nice and big. Let's say for some reason I didn't want it to have that hard edge as the headphones go down. I could just erase it away. Not erase it away. I'm brushing on black to hide its visibility is essentially what's happening. And now it's fading away to the bottom. So you can do cool stuff like that with this same mask as well. Because even gray tones, so if I paint it on gray, then it'll halfway hide it, 50%. Anyhow, lots of cool stuff that you can do with this. Now let's try and do the same thing in Illustrator. How do we... Okay. Now I said that there's like a few different ways to go about it. That was our lucky, fantastic. We did the automatic select and select subject, and Photoshop did a great job cutting it out. Let's get something else here and practice cutting it out with a different method. Cool. So we're here in Photoshop still. Let me get it in full screen. Okay, so I'm back in Photoshop with just a different drawing. We haven't changed softwares. Last time we did the selection tool, we hit select subject, and we let Photoshop grab it. Here it is figuring it all out. And hey, Photoshop did a great job on this one too. We've got lots of contrast between the background and the foreground image. So it would work on this one, but we're going to show you a little bit more of a manual way to go about it, just in case your image isn't that great and it's hard for it to calculate the difference. So we're going to be using what's called the pen tool, and I'm going to go over and switch from the layers to the paths tab on the right-hand side. And what we're doing instead is we are manually going to make a path around this bottle. Essentially, we're telling it where to cut it out. And so I'm going through this pretty quickly. Always hit that wrong button and that window comes up. Sorry about that, guys. Come down to the bottom here. So the way that it draws with the pen tool is with Bezier curves. So if I click and I drag it out, those handles impact how big the curve continues from that point. The longer it is, the more continuous the curve. It's going to go past that point a long way. So if I switch it up and I really drag it out, you see what happens. But it was a pretty good fit to begin with. So I'm going to stick with that. And we're just tracing around the edge. I realize I'm going kind of quickly. Some tips for you. Let's say you get to this point and you're not super happy. Let's say instead we accidentally went out here. Don't freak out. Just keep going. And what we can do is I'll hold down Control and mouse over it and see how it changes to the white arrow. Then without even like getting rid of the pen, I'm not clicking anything. It's accessible. You can just click it and drag it over and you're still back in the pen. Come up here. Another thing we can do. I'm clicking and dragging to turn these into Bezier curves. Oh, that one's too far. So I'm holding down Control, changing the handle. Just like this. Okay. Another thing we can do, if I hold down Alt, see how that changed? I go to the handle right now, it would be pushing the line up into the cap. But if I hold down Alt and use this kind of vector corner thing, I can grab it, turn it, and that becomes a corner shot now instead of a loopy curve, Bezier curve. So just a couple hotkey things that'll help your workflow out. Click, drag, go on up. Click, drag, boom. And now we've drawn an entire path. I'm going to fix that right here. A little bit better. Just because I'm finicky about it. But there we go. We've traced around it, and now we can go down here at the bottom. If for some reason you like needed to come back and save this work and you wanted that path later, if you want the path saved, you just double click on it and you name it bottle outline. And there it is. And you can start doing your pen tool someplace else, and it makes a new work path instead of overwriting the one that you just did. So just a little FYI, double click on it and you can save that path for later. But once you've selected it, you can go down here, click the selection tool, and it'll take what you drew, and you see the little dancing ants going around. That's, or marching ants, whatever they call it. Dancing ants. They're marching ants, showing you where it's selected. Go over to your layers, and now I can do the layer mask based off of what I drew to select it. Boom. Here you go. We've cut it out. So we've shown you a few different ways now of how you can select and remove the background of your stuff, and then leave it so you have an isolated image. You would just go up to here, File, Export, Quick Export as PNG. So there you guys have it. That's how you cut out an object from a photo in Photoshop so it has a transparent background. If you have any follow-up questions or suggestions on stuff, be sure to reach out to me, info@thevariable.design. If you guys liked some of this content that we did today, go and hit that subscribe button down below. We'd really appreciate it. All right, well, we'll see you next time. Until then, keep designing.